Welcome to another episode of The Script is Better with Jon and
Becca, hello.
hello. This week we have read Legend, but not the modern Legend, which was with Tom Brady, which we were trying to read only because we couldn't find a good script for the original Legend with Tom Cruise, but then the new Tom Brady Legend script wasn't a good script, and so we ended up finding a good script for the original Legend, and so we're reading the original Legend.
And by Tom Brady, you mean Tom Hardy.
I did mean Tom Hardy. I don't know. Oh, Tom Brady's a football player.
He is.
Fair enough. Okay, maybe he was in that movie too.
Possibly.
And Tom Brady is a legend, so
It works.
I know I said what I meant. Beck, let's get right into it. How did you like Legend, Beck? Was it legendary? I should have said wait for it.
You should have said wait for it. Well, don't wait for it. It was legendary. I loved it. I really enjoyed the script. I thought the read was great. It had laughs. The story had intrigue. There was love story, compelling characters. The stakes were great. I had so much fun. And I felt that the narrative was written so beautifully that you could see the voice of the writer in it. And yeah, I just thought that if the script was given to me today, I'd be like, ooh, film it now. Please, can I be a part of this process?
What do you think made it such a great read? Like, what do you think made it such an easy read?
I think the language of the characters was all distinct, so that made it fun and it immersed me in the world. And then, yeah, I was saying that I really enjoyed the narrative. I just think that the writer's voice drew me in and that their language choice. Some words that I didn't even know, but I could still glean from the sentence. It kept me in the world and I could really see it. Like my mind was just picturing the whole movie. I'm very excited. How did you like it?
Fantastic.
Or not
Yeah,
like
no.
it?
Oh, Beck, you can't read that script and say that you didn't like it, right? Like I read the same script that you read. It was fantastic. It was a fantasy, and so of course it's going to be fantastic. I I grew up reading fantasy. I probably mentioned that when we read Willow as well. And just this script was better than Willow, hands down, I'd say. And you could tell that this guy had written novels because the description was beautiful prose that really, like you said, brought the world to life. You really could see, you could visualize everything that he wrote down, and it was so good. And the characters were great. It was, you know, I thought that I would at least enjoy reading this script, but this was like a highlight. It was so good. I was so happy with this one.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think that the script hit all the basic plot points, or do you think that there was anything missing that they could have added or done more of?
I think it was like so spot on that they should use the script to teach like screenwriting, and I'm surprised that they haven't. Like it's so the hero's journey, and they always use Star Wars, and I mean like every movie in a way is the hero's journey, but this one they should use this one. In my opinion, I really loved it, and I thought that the antagonist had as much of a journey as
Mm.
the protagonist, which I really enjoyed.
And he didn't die in the end either, eh? He just kind of like he escaped
Yeah.
into the darkness. He was the darkness, but yeah,
I
it's
mean, I
interesting.
like that. I like that because you can't really have the good without the bad. So yes, he
Mm.
can be like defeated for now, but yeah.
There's some little things that I looked into afterwards, and so I'm not going to bring it up now because I think it's more of a filming plot point that
Ooh.
I'll bring up next time. But
Okay.
it's interesting. It's particularly to do with the ending. I haven't actually watched it yet, but there are some things that they did.
Cool.
So I'm excited. Yeah, yeah. Oh, while we're talking about this, we should mention that the author's name, I'm going to get the last name wrong. It's European of some sort. It's William. I'm going to say Jortsberg.
I think that's right.
The
Yeah.
H is probably silent, right? If you're going to
I
look at those
feel.
two those two letters, H and then J beside each other, I'm going to give the H the silent treatment.
Yes.
Yeah, I think his writing hit just so many adjectives he threw at you, right? So many adjectives,
Yeah.
very descriptive. Yeah.
But never to the point where you needed to skim anything. So I know
No.
that you personally would never skim anything, but like
How
Me,
dare you even imply?
if it's too wordy, I'm like, okay, this is where I would take like my red pen and just cross out tons of shit. But this, every word was great.
I completely agree. Yeah, he's written 8 fiction novels and 4 scripts.
Okay. What are the
Yeah.
other scripts? Do you know?
I
Are they
don't know
like
the other.
ones that we would know?
No, not that I could see. Nothing too famous.
Okay.
There were moments that I really enjoyed. There was like you had the opening scene. I just with all the darkness, the goblins being the darkness, and then the darkness demanding they find innocence, and then they immediately cut to the princess Lily, and
Yeah.
she's wandering around, going to the forest and talking to the little farmers or the bakers. Yeah,
Yes.
so many good transitions like that. So much, like you said, the characters were so good. I really liked. I think I really liked the progression of the Green Man in particular. What was his name again? Oh my God.
Jack.
Yeah, I think I really liked the progression of Jack, the Green Man in particular. I thought that he stayed constant in his love towards Lily, but he also grew as a character and of knowledge of himself.
Totally. I agree. Yes, he had a great journey.
How do you like Lily's journey?
I liked Lily's journey until the very ending, but I loved that she was like a female character who made her own choices and for the most part did not need saving. That's what I liked about her. I felt that she had
Yeah.
autonomy and she was just like in control of her fate. I really enjoyed that until at the very ending when it turned into Snow White and I was like, okay, fuck you guys. We don't need a prince to kiss this Sleeping Beauty awake or whatever.
Oh, right at the very end, like he dives into the water, gets the ring, and then he kisses her, right?
Yeah, and she wakes up. I'm like, okay, stop.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, but you're right. Before that, it's like she's tempted by evil, but she doesn't succumb.
Yeah,
And yeah, she's a good, strong character. And you're right. Like as soon as she's willing to follow goblins who have just killed a unicorn, that's
right?
really courageous. Yeah, for sure. She's not just like, "Where's Jack? He's gonna save me from all this."
Yeah, and has like the strength to not like break down, which this was came out in like 1986 or 85, 1985, and it was written in 1984. Just to have a character that, like a female character, that wasn't like, "Oh my God, save me!" and just screaming in the face of danger all the time is fantastic.
I think this is to the credit of the geek community of the time. I think I've read a lot of fantasy novels. Again, I guess I'll say that a few times today. And in those novels, there was a surplus. So like there's a lot. There's a lot of strong female characters in those novels, like warriors or just women who don't need saving or who have their own growth and desires clearly mapped out. I think part of that's because they were a lot of fantasy novels were written by women, but also I guess maybe geek fantasy they were into stronger women as well sometimes. I'm sure there's a lot of novels. I know some. I can think of some off the top of my head where that just horribly written women. But yeah, for the most part, I would say that there's a lot of strong women in fantasy.
I've been reading the wrong stuff all this time.
Yeah, probably,
I
probably.
mean,
Well,
like, would you consider Twilight fantasy? Because I did read all of those books, and there was nigh a strong woman in that series.
what is that? I think that has a specific genre. Oh, it's something fiction. I don't remember off the top of
Mm.
my head, but it's a specific brand of fiction where it's like fantastical elements set in the modern world.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and so that has its own genre, separate from fantasy.
Good. I'm glad it
Yeah.
doesn't taint the genre.
It does not. Pure, pure. Yeah. Get your dragon lances and your forgotten realms.
So now that I know that women like this are typical to fantasy, it makes so much more sense that the connection I made between this story and another movie, The Labyrinth, I found that there were so many things that were very similar, and the female character in that is also very autonomous and does not need saving. So yeah,
No, I mean there is no man in that story, right? I mean the man is the evil character, the Goblin King.
Yeah.
And then like the rest of the characters are all they're puppets, but they're also not people in any way. There's not like a man puppet. There's like a dog who rides another dog.
That's the best.
Is
I
it?
think
Yeah,
is it a dog? I thought it was a fox, but it's
maybe it
probably a
is.
dog that rides
Yeah.
another dog. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like this other like big beast thing. And then I think there's like a goblin or something.
There is, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was fun the way how loose they were with what makes up a certain creature. Like you could be a fairy, you could be a leprechaun, and you could turn into a goblin, and you could turn back. It was very fast and loose, and I guess that's kind of I think maybe true to some fantasy, which was fun.
I was wondering about that. I'm interested to know if we're going to see changes in those characters on screen or if it's just a title. Because yeah, like
Mm,
Blunder was or is a goblin, but he's also twin brothers with Screwball, who's a
yeah.
fairy pixie elf,
Oh, yes.
like at different
Yeah.
times in the story. And then yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, Blix was a leprechaun, and then he became a goblin. I thought when they said that he was going to turn back into a leprechaun. That was a setup.
Right. Oh, interesting. I think leprechauns aren't supposed to be necessarily evil. They're just supposed to
Yeah,
be tricksters. Yeah. And then everyone turns into goblins.
yeah.
Did you like how much poetry they had in it too?
As in the rhyming dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. They would not break into song, but they would do a lot of rhyming dialogue. Exactly. Both the
Yeah,
goblins and Lily, I think those in particular, and then like elves and stuff.
yeah. I really did like it. I just at the beginning it set up where there were the three goblin or four goblins, and only one of them was speaking in rhyme, and I
Mm.
was like, oh, this is differentiating the characters. He speaks in rhyme. This other one stutters every time he speaks. And I thought that was just unique to him. And then halfway through the script, that character, Blix, just stops rhyming. And I was like, oh,
Right.
why?
Maybe things aren't working out for him as much.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you think that, I mean, just still lingering on the script in particular, do you think that the writer did anything unconventional in the script, or do you think it was pretty standard? I mean, you did describe it as like the hero's journey, so that
Yeah.
sounds pretty standard. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the only standard things, like you mentioned, are the unstandard things rather, are the ending. It's
Mm,
like as it is on the script, it is a little bit ambiguous. We both agree that darkness is still alive, but also Jack and Lily, like you would think in the end of a normal story, like the guy gets the girl, like the hero
mm,
gets the woman. But in this, it kind of seems as if Jack is saying, like, yes, I'm always going to be here because I'm nature and nature is eternal,
mhm.
but not in the husband and wife way that you would expect.
I actually kind of liked that. I like
Yeah.
it. Yeah, because this is like a young love. They're 16, I believe,
Yeah.
and she's going out. It's like a young love, and it's like it has that young love kind of feel, and you can see that that's something that would be great for the time, but then maybe wouldn't last forever, and especially when he is immortal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that would necessarily work out. Okay, what about actually the plot points? Is there anything in the plot points that you thought was either like a little funny or didn't work?
I didn't feel that way, but are you asking that
There's
because you have one in particular?
there's one in particular. It
Okay, yeah.
wasn't, it works for the story and I don't necessarily disagree with it, but it seems like okay, there's two unicorns left in the world,
Hmm.
and it seems like killing one just pretty much destroys the world. Like everything goes to shit. And if you kill the other one, then everything's just completely gone. Like darkness rules everything. I would just think that maybe those unicorns would be more protected, would be, I don't
Okay.
know, like shoved off somewhere. They are free animals. They're or free creatures, not just animals, but they are sentient, free creatures with their own power and everything. But it didn't take very much to take them down. Like they had a blow dart. They shot the they shot the unicorn and it collapsed and they cut off its horn, I guess. And that was
I
it.
I think that works for this story because it is the hero's journey, and much like a Spider-Man story or a Superman story, it's like before those heroes become their superhero selves, there is lots of danger in the world and not everyone is protected. But then when they like don their capes, finally people are protected. And so in this story, until Jack like dons his cape, the unicorns are, at risk. So that made sense to me.
Sure.
Yeah. I was like, it's because Jack hasn't come into his own yet, and that's why. He doesn't know his power yet. He's the
Trying to
protector
get
of
stabbed and
unicorns.
not die.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty great power, I'd say. I went through the first half of this script thinking that they had cut off the unicorn's head, but I think they had just cut off its horn.
Yeah.
And they kept calling it an alicorn.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what's going on?
A
Why are they
unicorn.
running around with a unicorn head?
I like that a unicorn has an alicorn,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I don't know
exactly.
why.
The first time I read it, I'm like, why are they messing up the writing of unicorn all of a sudden? Yeah, to be fair, there were a lot of spelling errors in the script.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are you most looking forward to in this one?
In general, I'm very excited just to see what everything looks like because in my head it is very much like the labyrinth in that everything is puppets or people in costumes. Like Hoggle was the goblin that you were talking about in Labyrinth, like a person in
Did you look
dressed
that
as a
up while we
goblin.
were talking?
No, it just came to me. I remember. I
Oh,
love that movie.
nice. It's so good.
So in general, I just like excited to see what everything looks like and how like darkness it goes between like being shadows and flames and then actually like embodied as a person-ish thing. And but specifically, I don't every scene with like the fairies and then also the Meg Mugglebones scene. I liked that scene.
The Who
Meg
scene?
Mugglebones, she's like in the water and
Oh,
they try
right.
to
And she
go over the water.
gets. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, so good.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, it really shows that kind of trope in some fantasy and some fiction, especially like the Odyssey, where you have the hero who has to use their wit instead of their brawn to overcome their obstacles.
Yes, exactly.
Fish
And I think that's maybe the first time you see that happen too.
in this
In this,
story for sure.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. The rest of the time, he doesn't really have to fight a lot.
no,
I like his plan to defeat the darkness in the end is reflective mirrors. Works great. He's not going to necessarily fight the darkness. I mean, he tries to in the end, but yeah, because that plan doesn't work. But it's a good plan.
it is a good plan. Like you're saying, reflective mirrors and what that has for like the theme of the story, I think is pretty cool because Jack doesn't know who he is yet, and that gets reflected by darkness.
Good point. They all kind of discover themselves a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
I really liked, this is kind of one of my last points. I really liked the fairies and how they really reminded me of like a Midsummer's Night's Dream kind of fairy creatures. A little mischievous with the magic and willing to like sing and dance and play around as they torture and maybe kill you.
yeah, they were a lot of fun, but also like there to help you.
Exactly. Yeah, I think for me, mostly I'm looking forward to, I guess, like the entire thing. I don't think there's
Yeah.
one scene in particular that I'm looking forward to. I think I'm excited to see what the goblins are. I'm worried that some of the magic that's on the page is going to be hard to translate onto the screen because just the limits of filming, but maybe the fact that it's set in the 80s and they're used to trying to scrap things together with special effects that are more real, that it'll come to life a lot better than maybe a modern digital film would.
Right. I am also a little worried, but also because I think if it was executed like as well as the script was, then this movie would be much more popular.
Right. It isn't, you have to, the cult classic. It's not like Dark
Yeah.
Crystal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They're not making a Netflix special about Legend.
No. And sorry, and we did bring this up last time. We said it was the Tom Cruise legend. He is in this movie, right?
Tom Cruise, yeah, he plays Jack.
He plays. Okay, so I was wondering who he plays. He plays Jack. So yeah, it's not going to be good. Great.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. He's very young at the time. I didn't recognize, like, I've taken a look at all the actors.
Hmm.
I didn't recognize Lily in anything. Like, she's not someone that I know off the top of my head.
Hmm.
And then I know who plays Darkness. I know you don't like to necessarily
No,
look.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, and the director. I mean, you might be surprised by who the director is too.
I feel like it's got to be like Ron Howard or something.
Nope.
Okay. Oh, I guess I'm saying that because he didn't he direct Willow?
Did he direct Willow? Yeah, I think you know.
Yeah,
Did he
yeah,
have production? Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. He might have. Yeah, and then George Lucas was like producing it and wrote
yeah.
some of it. Yeah, yeah, for sure. You're right, but not Legend. There's somebody. He's a famous director, and I think you'll be really surprised when you learn who it is.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's some surprises for next time. Yeah,
Nice.
I guess with that, we should end this part, get on to our mid-episode break, and come back for the filming part. Yeah, I'm improvising.
Perfect.
See you next time.
Coming at you with another question. All right, John. What franchise do you think has a better sequel than the original?
What franchise do I think has a better sequel than the original? You know, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna do a good job of this, but because I'm gonna say one of the Star Trek movies.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Fair.
I know
No,
this.
that's fair though.
Yeah, this is probably not the answer people are expecting, but I watched a lot of the Star Trek movies, not all of them, and I'm talking about like the original like series. My favorite Star Trek movie would be, I believe it's number seven. It is called First Contact,
Mm.
and it has the Next Generation crew, and it is just a fantastic film where the Borg come to Earth. They do like it starts with a an attack by the Borg on Earth, and the Borg are just like such a great enemy in this series. And then when they defeat the Borg initially, like the Borg are like wiping out the Starfleet. Armada, then the Enterprise comes and they defeat the Borg. But the Borg, at the very end, they send some Borg into the past and try to rewrite history, and you get to see where the Federation came from. And it's just such a well written film, and you get some great character moments from like Patrick Stewart, LeVar Burton, everyone. Like it's and Jonathan Frakes, Marina Sirtis. Like everyone's amazing in this. And it's just the best version of them, except for like the actual TV series. So that's my answer. Go watch
Amazing.
First Contact. What about you, Beck? What do you think had a better sequel in a franchise?
Oh man, I have two answers to this, and both of them are controversial as fuck. So I'm gonna go with Gremlins 2. I think Gremlins 2 is just better than the original, and nobody out there is gonna agree with me. I get
Who
that,
is not going
but
to agree with you? Like,
you don't think people will agree, or you do
I
think
think
people will agree?
I think everyone who's sane should agree.
Right? It's just
Yeah.
so much fun. It's so much fun and scary and creepy at parts too, like with the spider fucking gremlin. That guy's terrifying. But
Oh yeah.
I just think it's yeah, I think it's so great. And I think at the ending when the one gremlin starts singing like the Frank Sinatra New York, New York, I just think that's
Mm,
such a fantastic ending to the film. I just really enjoy that film. And the first one was definitely more scary. The second one is more camp, and I just like that direction with it based off of like these cuddly like stuffed animal type creatures. How do you not go super campy with that? And
yeah.
so
You,
I just love that.
I do think that it's about time that they bring back Gremlins in some form. They had a short that was released on YouTube, and
Oh,
it's amazing. It's really good. Like I'm not going to say it's like the best thing ever, but it's a very good direction for the next film to go in or for the story to go in. And so I
I
hope
would
they
love a return. Because you can just
yeah.
keep, you can just, it can be Gizmo again. Is Gizmo in the.
100%.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, in this version, in this short, Gizmo wasn't there. It's
Oh,
about like a future, like not a like future, but like right now, where gremlins are like a known thing and Mogwai are a known thing now, and they're being sold by corporations.
oh.
And they've actually been like genetically modified, so the rules don't apply to them anymore. But you know, when people try to do that, just like Jurassic Park, life finds a way, and they start turning into gremlins again. And so it like all happens in this like diner, very short thing, but it's great.
That's so cool. I'm definitely gonna check that out. And
Yeah,
I'm
do it
glad that
today.
I'm not alone in it.
No. Maybe it's a Grenier family defect. We like the sequel better than the original, but I
No.
don't think so. I think everyone does, or
Okay.
hopefully.
All right. Well,
What was your other
back
one?
to my other one is so ridiculous. It's Weekend at Bernie's 2. I think Weekend at Bernie's 2 is just better than Weekend at Bernie's. I think it's so funny. Again, it's just like such a good time. The dancing is
Yeah.
ridiculous. I think it's so much fun. And I remember like arguing with somebody, it might have even been you, about how
No,
in
it
How
wasn't
I Met.
me.
Okay, so in How I Met Your Mother, there's a reference to how Weekend at Bernie's is better than Weekend at Bernie's 2. And forever, I thought they were saying the opposite. And I was like, thank you. Everyone agrees with me. And I fought with somebody when they said I was wrong. And then we pulled up the episode. And yeah, I was fully wrong. And I felt like my world had shattered because I realized in that moment that I was actually alone, like in this Weekend at Bernie's 2 being a fantastic film. Much
Weekend
better
at
than.
Bernie's 2 is fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is
We do
fun.
have
Yeah.
tastes, I think.
Doesn't he get an arrow through the head at one point?
Yes, and he just keeps going.
Yeah,
He's got the
yeah.
arrow, but he's got his like little headphone Walkman thing going, and he's good to go.
Yeah, and he also like because there's music playing at a party, he starts walking and people do a conga line behind him. It's so ridiculous.
Oh, needs a rewatch. His facial expressions are just so funny.
Yeah, I'd like to know who that actor is. I mean, that would be a fun script to read too.
For sure. All right, back to the episode.
Okay, guys, welcome back. We have finished watching Legend, the Tom Cruise film, the Tim Curry film, the other actors film, Mia Sara, and other people that I actually want to bring up, and a director that is strange. We will talk about all of this and more on this episode of The Script is Better with Beck and John. Beck,
Yes,
how did you like Legend?
I liked it in the way of not liking it at all. This movie sucked.
Oh, faked out. Oh, dis. Oh, no. Okay. I'm just going to get out of the way that I also did not like this movie, especially compared to the script. But let's break it down, Beck. We've got a lot of different things that we can talk about. How about we start just with the acting? Because I think we've got a lot of big names and we can rattle these off and wonder why they did this project.
Yeah. Right? Like, okay, you already said it. Tim Curry, he was great as the devil. Why the devil was in this movie, I don't know. But
It's the darkness, Beck. I don't know
I,
what you're talking about, the devil.
yeah, the darkness. But he's fully just like a red hoof devil. Like he's the devil as we have all seen him in everything else. Except
Sure.
this one has like neon green glowing eyes and glowing fingers also
No
at one
pitchfork.
point. But yeah, like he was great, but I think that I don't know if this is gonna throw some shade at people who are often taking on prosthetics and that sort of thing. I know that this is very hard work. I just think that in this case, anyone could have been Darkness. Like, I don't know if Tim Curry brought something to this role that anyone else in that costume couldn't have done.
You know, I get where you're coming from. I just hadn't thought about that. It really could have been anyone else in that role, and Tim Curry just did the voiceover.
That's true because there was so like the body didn't even make sense. Like the muscle, everything. Like his neck was so much wider. There was a lot of prosthetics in that.
Yeah, no doubt hours to get into that
Oh
makeup.
my
That would have been
gosh.
horrible. Did you like his voice at least?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. But
Okay.
I didn't. If you had said who's that actor based off of this voice, I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
You know, they did something to it, right? Like it didn't sound like
Yeah.
you could tell it was Tim Curry if you thought about it, but it didn't necessarily sound like him.
Yeah.
Okay, can we get on to the elephant in the room?
Is that Tom Cruise?
I think it has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. He was in a movie. I don't know if he was in Legend, but there was definitely somebody on screen that was in their own movie.
Yeah, when I saw him come in, like his just first appearance, and he's like kind of like looking around, all like wild. I was thinking like, why is Tarzan in here? Why, why is Peter Pan a lost boy in here? Like, I didn't understand. Was this an acting choice or was this direction?
Yeah.
Why did he go in this direction? It didn't make any sense.
But also so like clean. Like
Yeah.
he's like a pretty boy with like beautiful hair who lives in the forest, has no dirt on him, has no like I've been living in the forest for a very long time except for the fact that he likes to crouch a lot. Okay.
Hmm.
And that he's like wearing clothes that are green. I mean, that's a little on the nose, but okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he's a green man.
other than that, he's just like the boy next door.
Yeah, yeah. I also felt I know this was one of his early roles, and there are movies that I like Tom Cruise in, and I have no complaints about his acting. But this film, like, it just felt so fake. I just couldn't believe it anytime he delivered a line.
Yeah. And there was a crying scene which felt like so false that my skin was like uncomfortable on my body. I was like, please make this end. Like, make him
When did
stop
he
crying.
cry?
Oh my gosh. I don't even remember.
Okay,
I think it was near the beginning. Possibly when Lily gets taken away or something. I
right.
just remember the crying being like, no.
Oh, how did you like Mia Sara as Lily?
Yeah, she was great. I would say that she
Mhm.
was probably the best. Like apart from the people who did great jobs, like the goblins and Meg
Mm,
Mugglebones and that sort of thing, they were all amazing as well. But
yeah.
yeah, in terms of the people who like, this is a person and you recognize this person, I think she was for sure the best.
Yes, I agree. I thought she had a playfulness in her innocence. I believe just everything that she did, right? And I
Yeah,
liked what she did. So yeah, I think at least there's some positive light in this
yeah.
film somewhere. I wanted to highlight one actor, the actor who played Blunder. You only get to see his face towards the end of the film. Do you remember Blunder?
Yes.
Yeah, so he was one of the goblins, but he doesn't look at all like a goblin once he takes off his helmet. He's just a regular, shorter person. And that actor is actually, his name is, I'm going to hopefully pronounce this right, Kieran Shaw. And he is Guinness Book of World Records. He is the world's shortest stuntman. So
Oh.
yeah. And he was the stand in for Frodo in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh, cool. That's cool. So for
Yeah.
like eye lines and stuff, they probably also used him. Be like, this is
Yeah,
how short Elijah Wood is supposed to be. So this is where you're going.
exactly. I'm pretty sure that if you had like a distance shot where like he was beside people were beside Gandalf, like say Gandalf and Frodo were walking along, you don't get to see Frodo's face like from the
Yeah.
back. I think he would be the one walking.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah. So that was like a nice little Easter egg, one of his earlier roles. He's done a lot of films too.
Amazing.
Yeah. Do you have any other actors you want to highlight, or do you want to highlight the Goblins acting then?
I want to highlight Meg Mugglebones.
Yes.
Come on. Okay, first of all, just like terrifying. She's terrifying and so gross and way scarier than darkness. Like that creature that came out of the water, I was just like, nope, I would not want to be anywhere near that thing. That's terrifying.
That is what Lily would look like 100 years later if she succumbed to the darkness.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah
Like you get
possibly.
twisted and become like a snarling creature like that.
Yeah, and but also like half snake, kind of, because she's like this serpenty, like water, half human thing that comes out of the water.
If I had to like choose a creature, my off the top of my head, I would say troll, but I can't be
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. But then
Mhm.
also, she was played by Robert Picardo, who was the doctor from Voyager.
For sure, fantastic. That's a nice, another nice Easter egg, eh?
Yeah.
I, just like the darkness, you could never tell who was under that makeup, but amazing.
No. No. Yeah, it was awesome. And I like that in this movie quite a few times there were more like male roles played by women and female roles played by men. So that was cool.
What was some other male roles played by women?
Blix, who is supposed to be
Yes.
the goblin that rhymes all the time,
Rhymed a
but
bit.
yeah, he rhymed like two times maybe, but in the script he rhymes all the time. So in the movie he was played by a woman, and that very same woman, Alice Playton, dubbed over Gump's lines because Gump is played by David Bennett, who's a 19-year-old gentleman from Germany, and Ridley Scott felt that his voice sounded too German.
I mean, fair considering it's probably an American production, but unfair in that like most of these folk tales are like Eastern European and like Germanic in roots.
Yeah,
So having a German voice would probably be an okay thing.
yeah, totally.
I did like Blix in general, though. I was disappointed that after the darkness showed up and like really like you got to see who the darkness was in physical form, Blix doesn't appear again. Like he's just gone.
Oh yeah, true.
I think his last role, his last like appearance is when he hands over the alicorn reluctantly to the darkness,
Right.
and then he's just gone. Disappointing.
Yeah. The other characters I wanted to talk about was just the cooks. Like when I was
Hmm.
reading it and picturing the cooks, I thought that they were going to be giants, at least in proportion to the fairies, and they were just like two dudes. And in the scripts, they're blind, but in the film, they didn't really seem to mention that they were blind, and they were just wearing like masks.
Yeah, how are you going to really mention that unless somebody states, "Oh, they're blind"?
Well, how did we figure it out in the script? I'm pretty sure somebody
You
was
said it
like,
was
they're
blind.
blind.
It might have just been that was in description though.
Yeah, potentially. But you would, like, you can see when somebody comes on screen and they're blind.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know.
They were good. Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind them. That's kind of how I pictured them myself, at
Okay.
least. Yeah, and then the fairy Una. Yeah, Una. She's pretty much Una. That's pretty much what I expected.
Yeah, me too.
What about the special effects then? How'd you like the special effects?
Were there special effects? Everything seemed like practical effects to me, except
I
for
guess they
when
are.
the devil like walks through the mirror. And I wrote in my notes when I saw that scene, I was like, oh, that was cool-ish. Like I,
I guess I'm thinking like the prosthetics and everything as special effects,
yeah,
and I thought like some of the goblins looked. I liked how Blix looked.
yeah.
I did like how each of the goblins was unique in
Hmm.
their features, and I wasn't a fan of. It seemed like for the elves, it was a mix of like some of these are prosthetics, some of these are real people, and like when you first see them, I think there was like children just around.
Yeah,
It seemed a strange mix when they're all just supposed to be elves, right?
yeah.
And then yeah, I guess Mag Muggleborn again, just a highlight of that. Oh, okay. The other thing that it wasn't a change, but it was something I was disappointed in terms of special effects was the dancing with the black clothing.
What even was that?
In my mind, when I was reading the script, I just assumed like they're going to use wires. It's going to make sense that the clothing is dancing, and then she's going to dance around the clothing. In the film, they just had somebody in the clothing wearing like a black mask and black gloves so that she kind of blended in with the darkness
Yeah.
as she was dancing around. And it just seemed strange. It was a strange choice to me.
Yeah. Like I don't think the way that you had thought it was going to happen would have been too hard to do.
I think it might have looked a bit better. Like
Yeah.
it's a strange idea in itself, like somebody's dancing with clothing. It's just when you put the person into the actual clothing, it takes something away from it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just I guess one more thing just to linger on the film. Like, how did you like the filming in general, or the music? I guess as well. We can talk about the music, which in my opinion was horrible. And just every time I was like, why? Like, I hate every sound you're making in this film. I hate it.
Yes, also did not like the music. I don't know if we necessarily watched the same one because there's two scores for this film.
Oh,
One that
interesting.
like Ridley Scott has in his director's cut, and then one that's in the theatrical release, apparently.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I watched the director's cut.
Was the Darkness's eyes glowing green at the beginning?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. The way you can specifically tell if you're watching the director's or the theatrical cut is the ending. They actually had three different endings for this film. So
Okay, I hope the ending is better than the one that I saw because I fucking hated the ending.
okay, in the ending for this one, you get like the Cinderella moment, and then they kind of agree to just be friends. Where Lily like, "Can I come visit you again tomorrow?" And Jack's like, "Yes." And then Jack walks off, and the unicorns and all the elves wave to him as he's walking off into like the sunset. And then the theatrical release, they confess their love for each other, and it's like they're gonna go on to just be happily ever after kind of thing. And I think they either ride off on unicorns together or they run off together.
That's the one I saw.
Okay, so you watched the theatrical and I watched the director's.
Yeah.
So we got different music and we both hated the music that we saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
What, do you like the ending that I just described to you from the director's
Yeah.
cut more?
Because
Okay.
that's closer to the script.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Although I didn't want to, I wanted to finish talking about the actual film
Yeah.
on its own before talking about changes.
Hmm.
But we can talk about how maybe the reason it was different is because they'd have no mention about Jack's godhood in the
Yeah.
film.
If you're not
Yeah,
telling us that he's immortal, then why aren't they together?
exactly. It feels like in the film it's just like, oh, I guess we went through this adventure, but let's just be friends. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool, cool. I guess that's realistic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't just fall in love just because somebody. I mean, you guys went on an adventure together, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to just say about the film then, or do you want to get into changes?
I mean, just also that there was like glitter on everything and everyone. It was crazy. The whole movie was just glitter. And to the point where I think the actors probably all still have some on them today.
Mia Sarah's walking around, her face pasted with glitter.
Absolutely. There was so much. Like snow was glittery, tears were glittery, faces were glittery, like the unicorns were everything was glittery. I was like, why? Stop.
Okay, okay. So, what are some changes you noticed in the film?
Like the whole thing. So, I mean, at the beginning, Lily has a premonition that the snow is coming. And I was like, excuse me? Are you like clairvoyant somehow? Why did you just see that? Do you have mystical powers now too? Like, I just didn't understand that. And then,
She's a god.
right?
Oh
Like,
my
I was
god.
like, why? Okay. And then Jack and Lily kiss at the beginning too, which I
Right.
thought was like super gnarly and really awkward. Like, you
Mhm.
have this boy, he lives in the forest, you go into the forest and you just make out and then you go back home. Like, it just made me feel
She's 17 back.
real awkward. And I liked in the script that, like, there was that moment where she had her eyes closed, she was blindfolded, he's bringing her to the unicorn, and she can sense that he might be about to kiss her, and then he doesn't do it. Like, oh,
Hmm.
that was cute. This was
Hmm.
just like, I'm gonna fuck my boyfriend in the forest, I'll be back later.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Well, they didn't fuck. They made out and
No.
they
They
confessed
made up.
love and
Yeah,
yeah.
gnarly. So those are 2 out of like 20. Let's bounce back and forth so I don't eat
Okay.
up all of them myself.
So just the very beginning, just the fact that it started with the darkness, basically explaining himself. I don't
Yeah.
think the script started it's just like, I'm the darkness. I've been around forever. I need to destroy innocence so that I can roam the earth. We
Yeah.
didn't. I mean, have we heard about show don't tell?
Right? It didn't make sense. And also he says in that beginning part, he talks to Mother Night and he
Mm,
talks about how he doesn't have a mate and he's like really sad about it. He's like crying over the
totally
fact that
bummed.
he doesn't have a mate. And in the script, it's not until after he gets the second unicorn that he's talking to his father in the fire, and his
Mm,
father is like, well, this victory is nothing if you don't have a mate. And then at that point, he's like, ooh, I should get a mate.
right. He's like just the way he acts. He's the original incel.
In the movie, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's like, I can't get this woman to love me. Fuck women.
Yeah.
Sit.
Yeah. I didn't understand that why he needed her to sit so bad. That's in the script and in the movie, but I was like, is like if she sits, does that mean that you have power over her? Is that like the only thing? Like you give her one
Yes.
command, she does it, and then that's it. She's yours.
Yeah. I also didn't understand the father thing. He he came across as very childish, like crying to dad anytime he can't figure something out.
Crying to dad. I wanted also dad to have like I don't know. He's talking to this fire, and all you see on screen is like a fireplace.
Yeah.
There's nothing else, and you just hear this voiceover, and it's like, well, you could have put like I don't know eyes or like some sort of weird shadow in the fire that flickers, but no, it's just like I'm watching. It's Christmas time, and I'm watching like the fire go on the TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Weird. Okay. What other chains do you have?
I mean, we had the scrolling marquee at the beginning, like so fucking long. Did yours have that?
I'm not sure I remember that. Maybe I missed
Oh
it.
my god. It was like longer than a Star Wars marquee of like this is the story, this is the world, this is what's gonna happen. Here's the movie. Like they told you everything. So another show don't tell that was like super heavy handed. One of the lines like was together they will learn that there can be no good without evil, no love without hate,
Really?
no heaven without hell, no light without darkness.
So they just like that was just the movie.
Yeah,
It's like this is the movie, guys. You want to
yeah,
watch it now?
yeah.
Okay.
And then the last line of it is, out of the struggle to maintain this balance comes the birth of legends. So
No
they're
one
going to
knows
go
what
on this
happens.
journey. They're going to succeed, and they're going to be legends afterwards.
Such a
Yeah.
weird film. Okay, another thing that I noticed again from Darkness. At one point, he's just talking to Lily. I think he's talking to somebody, and people are listening. And Jack's at the door. Yeah, so Darkness is talking to Lily, and he literally just reveals his weakness. He's like, if I'm hit by light, I die. And Jack's at the door, like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna hit you with light then. Which I guess like I'm glad they found out a way that they knew how to what to do because I think in the script he just has the plan and it works.
Right.
But in the film, the Darkness actually reveals it. Great, but it was so weird. It was just a
I
weird
mean,
another cheesy moment.
I don't think we needed it because anyone watching, if the darkness is trying to make the world, like, is trying to get rid of the sun and
Yeah,
needs the last unicorn's horn to do so, then probably this guy can only be in darkness. So just
yeah.
like a vampire, we're going to assume that that light hits him and he's going to die. You know, it's like, yeah, we get it. You don't need to have him explicitly say it.
Or Gump, who like one of his first lines is like, "I know everything," could have revealed it.
True.
Okay, that's another change I had. What else do you have?
The Meg Mugglebone scene. It was one of the things that I was really looking forward to. I had my problems with it in the script version, which
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that there was this female character who was like strong and evil, and then her demise was due to her vanity. It was like, oh, you flatter a woman and then you can conquer her. I didn't love that,
Mm-hmm.
but we did both appreciate that Jack defeats her by using his wits, and he doesn't in the movie. He just like fucking stabs her.
Yeah, I mean, she's already entranced by the shield on her own. I think in the film, I think in the script, he kind of gets her to that point.
Yeah, and he's like, "You're beautiful, you're blah blah blah," and she's like, "Excuse me, what?" Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, he really he flirts with everyone, eh?
that that's what he brought to the role. Like, you know
He,
what? Jack's a flirt.
Jack's the flirt and Tarzan. There was no cat transformation, which I can appreciate.
You can appreciate. I fucking hated that.
You wanted the cat transformation?
I mean, I didn't understand why. Like, okay, if this is what darkness is, if darkness is the devil, why are you
Right.
turning this girl into like a humanoid cat? Like, I
Oh,
didn't understand that. But like, I did
oh.
understand her going through a transformation that was more than just giving her a black widow's peak and a fucking
What are you
unibrow.
talking about, Beck? As soon as you start wearing all black, you're evil. You know that.
It's like we're just gonna make her goth. There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly. Exactly. Black lipstick, they went all the way back. You know she's a bad guy now. She had succumbed back. And it was just last moment she was able to come back for her. I do agree, yeah. At least the cat transformation showed that there were consequences to her even flirting with the idea of accepting these gifts that the darkness was giving her.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess maybe they didn't want to show that. Like maybe it was just too much they thought, but
Or they were like, you know, this is like one of the last parts that we're filming, maybe. We've checked the dailies. This
mm,
girl is like holding the movie on her acting. Like she is
mm.
literally saving us. We can't put prosthetics on her. We need her whole face in the shot, okay?
They-
We just need to see her emotions.
yeah, everyone was like, thank goodness Tom Cruise will never act again. No one will have to worry about this problem. Okay, what else do you have?
There was a scene that I didn't understand like why it was there. It was a pretty long scene too, and it's just like Una is following Lily to the dining hall. So she's just like tiptoeing behind her in her full like pixie form, just
Mhm.
following Lily to the dining room, and then Lily goes into the dining room, she peeks in, and then she leaves. And I want to say it's like a minute long. So that chewed up a lot of the movie, and the movie didn't have a lot of story in it, so they could have like scrapped that scene and put the story back in. But like I just didn't understand what we were getting from it. She doesn't
That was
take any of the info from it and tell anybody. She just like watches her.
You could argue that she then helped lead Jack and Gump to the door because you see her with the other two later, like coming back to the door. So there's that possibility. In the script, it was a little different. Like Una wasn't there. It was Jack, I think, spotted her, but she was too far away. And I think the other elves spotted her at one point too.
Hmm.
So it was similar, I think, but different.
And like, if you are a pixie who can be like a little tiny bug-sized light that can go undetected by anybody, why are you tiptoeing behind this girl in your full form? Like, if you really don't want to be seen,
Right.
just fucking fly and follow her. And you can go into the room and darkness is not going to see you.
Well,
You're
maybe
fine.
when she's small, she gives off that light. Like I'm spitballing here, Beck. I don't know. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just
Yeah.
okay. So the last change that I have, because we already talked about Jack's immortality, is just like the whole ending was kind of different. They ended it with like a big fight between Jack and the darkness, and then at the end he hits him with the light rather than the light kind of starts the fight in the script, and then they go running off.
Hmm.
and and plus, instead of fleeing, the darkness is kind of banished into space, the void. I'm not sure. He's banished by the light. So
Okay. Like, they're underground. And we know this because
mm,
you see this light bounce off like a billion plates and go like from this dark underground to the earth. And you follow its path. And it
mhm.
goes down for a very long time. And then somehow he like blows through these doors and falls into the sky.
Yeah,
I was like, what? And then he turns into a shooting star.
maybe.
It didn't make sense. Also, though, he gets stabbed. I think it's with the alicorn by Jack, right? Is that what you
Yes,
said? Yeah.
yes.
So in the script version, it's the unicorn comes and stabs him and then like flicks him into the abyss, like reels backwards with his head and then throws this speared devil into the abyss. And he
Yeah, and
turns
then he
into
like,
like a black cloak instead of stars.
yeah. I mean, a star is an upgrade from a cloak, right?
Fair?
Do you have any other changes?
A few little ones. One thing I really didn't like was that Lily in the movie goes from saying she will never do anything for darkness to cackling and saying she'll kill the unicorn within seconds. It happens, it's like in the same sentence. And there's no motivation for that change from like, I won't do anything for you to ha ha ha, let's kill this unicorn. Like
Yeah,
nothing changes. But in the script, there's like, it's like over the course of 2 pages and 3 scenes, I think it happens. And the shift comes when darkness tells her that he loves her. And she's like intrigued that this person is, or this evil is capable of love. And because of that, she like warms to the idea of being with him. Obviously, we find out falsely because she actually uses that against him to
hmm,
earn his trust and then go release the unicorn. But like it had so much more of like a nice arc and it showed her wits and it had motivation. And here it was just like, oh, suddenly I have the plan.
yeah,
I'm not going to do
yeah.
anything with you. Now I know what I'm going to do. You're bested. I was like,
Mhm.
come on. So we touched on this, on the fact that Darkness never tells Jack in the movie that Jack is actually immortal, but he
Mhm.
does say in the movie that they're brothers. And I'm like, what does that
Right.
even mean? What does that mean, you're brothers? Why would you
Yeah, and
say
like you
that?
can rule together.
It didn't make sense to me. And I was like, why would you change it from brothers to you're an immortal? Like, it raises more questions instead of like fixing anything for me. And I was like, that's
Hmm.
stupid. Yeah, so
Yep.
that's the only other one I had huge problems with.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I think we kind of wrapped up. We got a lot of different changes in there. We kind of decided the film's not that good, and there's something been holding back from the beginning. This entire thing was directed by Ridley Scott. It's just you just gotta wonder, like, where did this come from? Why did he do this? Like, why like not the script. Like the script was great. It was a fantastic script. Why did he do the changes he did in the film? Why did he direct it the way he did? What
Like,
were the
why?
choices?
It's like a perfect example of how to ruin a script. Like, it's hands down the worst script to screen adaptation I've ever seen.
Hmm.
Definitely on this podcast and absolutely from scripts and movies I've seen before that. Like, it's the worst. And I
Yeah.
feel bad for everyone who has seen the movie and loved it because I'm like, you don't even know how good the story is that this is based off of. Like, you don't even know. Read the fucking script. It's so
Yeah.
good.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Okay, well that kind of dovetails us into a nice into our classic ending, Beck. Which one did you like better, the film or the script?
I loved the script better. I mean, no surprise. The only thing I really liked in the movie was the fact that in the credits there was a unicorn trainer instead of an animal wrangler, which I really appreciated. The
That is
script.
funny.
It's the script.
Yeah.
So good.
You
How
gotta
about you?
wear the horn like this. Yeah. I definitely like the script better as well. It was a fantastic script. The film was just weird and disappointing. Lily, you did a great job. Special effects people, you did a great job. Ridley
Prosthetics
Scott,
people, makeup, you were great.
yeah.
Character actors, great. Ridley Scott, go
Tom
home.
Cruise, yeah.
Go home. And if there is like a director out there that does fantasy today that specializes in fantasy, even Peter Jackson, like just get your hands on the script and just reboot it. Like, don't change anything from the script. Literally just film the script and it will be a great movie.
There you go. Yeah. So Beck, we're done with Legend and ba-ba-da-ba, we're kind of done with our first season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which means, what does that mean?
That means for season 2, we're gonna change things up a bit.
I think we're going to fulfill some of the promises that we made when we started out this thing, right?
Mm-hmm. In
Yeah.
our
Like,
introduction.
so if you want to know what we're doing in season 2, go back to our introduction and you'll learn.
There you go.
Yeah, like guests, right? Like guests.
Yes, guests, and then doing movie first and then script.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I think like the first 25 episodes, that's a good number. It's been fun doing just like the script to film and keeping it the same format for now as we got used to it. But I think we're ready to grow and branch out a little bit, right?
Exactly.
Fantastic. So yeah, we'll learn more about that in the coming weeks you'll just find out that there's a guest on and then you'll find out other things are happening. It'll just be random, so random. Okay, Beck. So what are we reading next time?
So next time we're gonna do a script
I hope
slash we're
so.
gonna and a movie that we've already seen. And it's my favorite movie, so we're gonna do Mr. Holland's Opus. We're gonna watch that movie first, talk about the movie, and then we're gonna read the script.
We're gonna watch the movie first and then okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Mr. Holland's Opus. Oh my God. I think we're gonna have to talk about the music a lot.
Yes. So good. And Richard Dreyfuss' performance, so good.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to seeing Mr. Holland's Opus. Later, Beck.
Bye.